that really invests in, excuse me, not only our participants, but our families as well. We've been in existence for 27 years, founded by two moms that really approached the state and said, get on board with our vision because the train is on the tracks and taking off. And the state did not, TDS did not get on board, but this has. And so we're appreciative of that as well. But if you're ever in Norwell and want to pop by and learn a little bit more about Friendship Home, we'd love to have you visit. You know, it's a really great organization, and we're really happy to be a part of not only the Will series, but be a member at the Chamber as well. So, thank you.
And Friendship Home will be our lead sponsor for 2026, so thank you very much. But for now, our lead sponsor is Mountainwood. Cardinal Cushing, Cardinal Cushing, Crystal Moon Holistic Healing, Friendship Home, George Washington Toma TV and Appliance, Phifer Pinkham LLC, Social YMCA, SteinbergHR, Tiny and Sons Auto Glass, and Unique Stairways. She hides tonight. We're going to start with Jill Clifford. Their bios are on your seat, so we don't read those out loud anymore. It takes up too much time. And Vaughn, and they'll have a conversation, and at the end, you guys can ask questions.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jill. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for being here today. I'm super excited that the Chamber had asked me to be a moderator for Bonnie. I guess you all have Bonnie's bio, so I won't tell you how incredible she is, but I will say
thank you.
What I love about Bonnie is her real quiet confidence, her very unassuming intelligence, and her really loud kindness. So I'm like super excited to hear your journey, for you to share your journey.
Thanks.
I think you have a lot to offer. So thanks, Bonnie. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Give us just a high level of your career journey and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm CPA partner at Citrin Cooperman in their audit and assurance group, and I am a mother of 3 grown daughters, and let's see, I live in Abington, married, have 2 grandchildren, another one ready to come within a few weeks. My journey, my career journey, actually, believe it or not, started, I want to say, in high school when I was failing chemistry. I was not a good science student, always a good math student, not good in science, and so I withdrew from chemistry and I took an accounting class. And people used to pay me to do their accounting homework in beer because, you know, the drinking age then went from 18 to, you know, well, it was 18. And I must have been like 16 or something like that. And so the guys in the class used to drop off a 6-pack behind a tree, and I would do their accounting homework. So, and by the end of that, you know, my accounting journey in high school, they were calling me Miss CPA. So I grew up in a family business, and my parents were a little upset that I wasn't going to take part in the family jewelry business. I was going to go to college and become a CPA. So I knew from a young age that that's what I wanted to do. My first job out of college, I met my husband there, check box, and I worked on investment companies for a couple of years until I moved on into a CPA firm where I was going to get exposed to a lot of different industries. Construction, real estate, manufacturing and distribution, healthcare, really good experience. And I stayed there for about 23 years and through a series of mergers, because that's what our industry is doing now, right? So through a series of mergers, around 2010, I was really burnt out and was working a lot of hours, raising a family. It was a tough time, and so I left without another job in hopes that I would just figure out what I wanted to do next. And in doing that, I was meeting with people that I had met through either networking events or, you know, even, you know, former people that I worked with, and discovered that I loved what I do. and decided to re-enter. So that was a quick 3 months of unemployment, and then I moved on to where I am today. So in 2010, our firm was KAF Group. Some of you may remember KAF. And that in Braintree, it was a small firm. I had big firm experience at the time, so I was able to bring something, some valuable experience into that firm. And we became Citrin Cooperman in 2016, which has been, a great experience. We've grown significantly. I think in Braintree, we were like, when we were acquired, we were like an $8 million firm. Now in Braintree alone, we're a $60 million practice, and part of a much larger practice. So that's been a great experience with a lot of different services that, I have access to, that I've learned from, to be, the best client server that I can be. So that's where we are.
Yeah, good for you. I think we hear a lot that, we can have it all. And so I'm going to age us a little bit, but through our career journeys, I think when you talked about just trying to raise a family, working a ridiculous amount of hours, trying to build a career, and even now, I think we're navigating our careers in a different way, right? We're on the back half, and we have these adult kids who think they're adults, but sometimes they're not. It's a whole different part of the journey, and so as you think about that, how do you determine your priorities personally and professionally, and then do you separate the two? Because so much of what you do is part of your identity. I mean, you said it. You were getting beer for accounting. They didn't call you the drunk CPA either. So
no, they didn't.
Must have handled
they didn't. I just wanted to be cool. I just wanted to be cool. So, it's a good question, and it's certainly different today than it was when I was raising my children, right? Because when I was raising my children, we weren't expected to answer emails in 22 seconds, right? Those were still the days when I was actually stopping at a payphone. Mackenzie, you probably don't know what a payphone is, right? We're stopping at a payphone to get our messages, right? When we weren't in the office. So, I think that, my family's always been a priority. I didn't have a nanny. I wanted to be, very present in my kids' lives. But I also didn't want to give up my career for a lot of different reasons. I enjoyed my career, number one. But number two, I knew that, kids being young, that wasn't going to be forever. And if I had stepped out of the workforce, if I had stepped out of my profession, what would it have looked like when I stepped back in? And I was concerned about that. So there were years where it wasn't economically fruitful to work because I had 3 kids, I was balancing daycare, a reduced work schedule. But I knew that if I had stepped away from a career that I loved, I didn't know what it would look like when I stepped back in. So absolutely no regrets there. But it's a question of, balance, and what does that look like? So I want to be present in my kids' lives, but at the same time, I don't want to be half a professional, right? And so I had to get really creative about my boundaries and where I thought I could add a lot of value to the firm while still raising a family. So I did take a step out of client service for a little while, and I went into compliance and quality control. It was more of a desk job, but it was just as vital to the firm, and I was able to keep, all of my technical skills. In fact, I was able to probably advance in my technical skills going into compliance. But if a school nurse called, I was sitting in that same chair every day. I wasn't out visiting clients all the time. So did I love it? I liked it. I preferred client service, to be honest, but I knew that it was going to be, the best thing for my family, and at the same time, I was still surrounded by these amazing professional people that I was learning from all the time, still dealing a little bit with clients and still staying technical. So it really didn't cause me any interruption in my career. And I felt fortunate that I was able to present that as a possibility to the firm, and they accepted that. So
you brought it to them.
Yes, I did have to.
You were creating your own balance.
Yes, I took a long time to stop and think about, how can I make this work? Because, the first few years when you're out at clients and the nurse is calling and you can't reach your husband, and I know, everybody can reach their husband but me, but, so, I had to think of something where I could stay and be of value. Because I'm not the kind of person that can just coast, you know what I mean? Like, I tell myself all the time, well, maybe I should just coast for a while, but it's not my personality. I can't do that, right? I have to feel like I'm providing more value than average. Like, I don't want to provide average value. I want to provide great value.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it was your version of balance, but
it was my
not a version
of
having it all.
No, and it was like you couldn't work from home back then.
No.
But I could do my job from home because it was paper, right? It was like my kids used to say,
Does
when
she
you're
know
done...
what paper is?
My kids used to say, when you're done correcting papers, can we have dinner? So it was easier than client service, for sure. Yeah.
Good for you. I think that version too of you hear all the time, women in your industry, there's not a lot, there's far more women now, but back then, would you say you were a few women in your industry?
So I didn't have any women mentors in my firm at the time.
Yeah.
So also too, the firm had never made concessions for women with children before. There were no women partners in the firm at the time. Yeah. And so I had to go to them with a proposal, and I think I talked about this. I did do a will engagement in the very beginning of the will series, and I remember going in and asking if I could work 4 days a week. And they kept saying, we don't believe in that. We don't believe in a 4-day work week. You can't work 4 days a week. Well, I had to get to a point where I thought, okay, I have 2 kids now. If I don't work 4 days a week, I'm going to die. So I went in and said, I really need this. And I felt confident that I could do that because I knew I was bringing some significant value to the firm. And my boss at the time, the managing partner, said, we're going to let you do this, but we're going to suck at it. And you're going to have to teach us how to do it well. And he was right. He sucked at it. And he would leave me voicemails when I was working. He would leave me a voicemail and say, I know you're probably feeding your kids right now, but when you get a chance, can you call me back? And I'd be literally sitting at my desk working, right? So I used to tell myself every time he pissed me off, I was going to go to Macy's and buy a lipstick. Because I'm a lipstick junkie. And I used to do that. I used to be like, Joe pissed me off today, I'm going to buy a lipstick. And I'd call him back, and I'd be like, I'm literally sitting at my desk, So I had to take it for a while. I really did take it. I felt really beaten up, even by some peers. So some of the men that were my peers would say to me, well, if you were doing this, or if you were doing that, or if you weren't home taking care of your kids, I really had to, have a strong will and not let that affect what I was doing, Can I say it never affected me? No, I can't say that at all, but, I wasn't going to, give up my kids, you know what I mean? So it was just something that I had to do. Maybe the most significant thing I had to do was I had to argue for a pay increase when I'm not going to say mistakenly, but I wound up having a child in February. For a CPA to have a child in February, that's just a no-no. So HR at the time said, you're not going to get a pay increase this year because you were out having a child during tax season. And I went to the managing partner and I said, I want to tell you about this conversation that just happened. And he literally took out his personal checkbook and said, what do you want? And I said, thank you, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to call down to HR, and I want you to make this right. So, I mean, there were times they even wanted to hide me in, like, a different floor than everybody that was working 5 days a week, because they didn't want people to see that I could work 4 days a week. So there were a lot of challenges. It's not like that in our industry anymore. Now in our industry, you know, not only do we have decent maternity leaves, we have paternity leave. Like I have men that work with me who are out on paternity leave all the time, and we respect it and we work around it, and it's so different now. At the same time, I'm not going to say it's less challenging because, like I said, you know, you have access to people so easily now, and the expectation from both clients and coworkers is that when they send a message, you know, I remember when it was 24 hours, now it's like 24 minutes. Like you need to either respond or say, I got your message, but I need to call you later, you know. So
it's easy to say, Bonnie, like as you tell that story, like that the courage came from your kids. Like you're a mom, you wanted to be there. But I think there's a lot of versions of moms who would have just given up out of fear of having that discussion or not feeling worthy enough to have that discussion.
Right.
Like, what do you think that was for you?
I think for me it was everybody, in that particular firm, everybody knew what my work ethic was before I even had children. And because I never, like, settled for mediocrity in myself, in my own goals, I, like a lot of different women, I have some self-confidence issues, right? Everybody's probably sitting here saying, I don't believe that, but it's true. But the outside world, like the people I worked with in my firm, they never knew that, right? So I knew from a very young point in my career that I needed to self-promote. And I did that. I did that constantly. And I wasn't the type of self-promoter that said, I did this and I did that. But I wasn't going to be the person that just sat at my desk with their head down. I was never going to go into a meeting and not say anything. Because then why am I even there, right? Am I a note taker? Like, why am I even there? And those were, like, there were some internal battles with that, because when I was young in my career and I'm sitting in a room full of, you know, it's a male-dominated profession, and I'm sitting there with men who have, like, 10, 15, 20 years more experience than I do, like, how am I going to add to this group intelligently? But it was a commitment that I made to myself that I would do that. So because I wanted to be valuable and I wanted to be successful. So that I could advance in my career, so that I could, you know, take time.
But it's a you game.
It is definitely a me game, right?
It wasn't wanting to show up as your best self.
Yes. Because I don't feel worthy of the pay. I didn't feel worthy of the paycheck if I wasn't my best self. You know.
Did you ever, like, you had to prove things to people?
I did. I absolutely did.
But it wasn't your desire. It wasn't why you were showing up.
No, it absolutely wasn't my desire. And I talked a little bit about this with Jackie and Jill before everybody came in. I was social anxiety, anxious person. Like, I'd go into a meeting and think, how can I get out of this meeting? How do I not go and still be okay, right? But I always went anyways. And I would compartmentalize those anxieties and just, you know, make sure that I showed up.
What would you recommend for someone who, a woman who is struggling with that, like the showing up for herself, showing up with self-worth, and then having that courage? Because I think sometimes it's easy to say, like, as a woman, you feel silenced by men when you're in a room full of men. But the reality is, I think a lot of times we're just silencing ourselves.
Yes.
I think, like, from my own personal experience, I experienced that a lot, where my C-suite is all men, 2 of them are Harvard grads, 1 of them is insanely intelligent, and I'm like, why do I sit here? Why am I even here? They're not silencing me.
Yeah.
It's my head trash.
Right.
I'm showing up with the head trash. Like, so what advice would you give?
we all have something valuable to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And even if it's off topic, I mean, I think sometimes the most value I bring in a client situation is I can ask questions that make my clients think, I need some help there, or, you know what I mean? So I'm not the smartest person in the room by any means, and that was okay with me, right?
Yeah.
Because I had people in there who were, had been in the industry much longer. They were far more technical than I was at the time, and but there was a certain human element that I brought into the room that nobody else in the room had.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned very quickly that that was appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used that a lot in getting to know people and getting to know referral sources, getting to know clients, getting to know just people in the industry. I brought that human element in. And to this day, like, I have clients who will call me and say, I need you to recommend a therapist for my son. I need you to recommend a cardiologist for my wife. Like, I'm an accountant. Like, what do you want from me? Like, but, I surround myself still to this day. Like, I feel like I surround myself with really smart people and in a diverse set of skills and can carry myself in a meeting, even when I'm not, like, in full command of the technical topics in the room. So I think it's just using your own personality and your own skill set and not trying to, like, make believe you're somebody that you're not. Like, I wouldn't go into a room and make believe I had full command of a subject. You know what I mean? I would be like, you know what? I really don't know about that, but I know people who do,
Yes.
And it's really just about being easy to talk to, being a little bit more nurturing of clients where my male colleagues couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just bringing something different to the room.
And is that what you brought when you did have those insecurities? So like, how do you
Absolutely.
get through the insecurities?
Absolutely. But there was a lot of just having to talk to myself and compartmentalize those feelings, and be like, you know what, you're going to get through this. Just put that away. Feel anxious later. Just put it away.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of events, and I do, not a lot, but a fair amount of public speaking, situations like this, and I'm anxious for all of it, but somehow it's just a skill that I've developed to be able to say, you know what, there's no time for that right now, so I'm going to put that away, and I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
How would you define through, like, your career what success looks like, first professionally?
Yeah, so both professional and personal, like, I consider them one, right? I'm one person, that's my life, right? I have a personal and professional life, and one can't be successful without the other, in balance, in my opinion, right? So I think success for me has changed through the years. The Chamber has made a big impact on me because community is something that was not in the equation for me for many years, right? It was do my job, take care of my kids. Like, there was nothing else, right? And at first when I looked at getting involved in the Chamber, I thought, it's just something else to do. I don't have time for that. The Chamber's been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had because I'm around smart people all the time. Like, at Citrin Cooperman, like, there is no shortage of intelligent banter, technical skills, like, but we're all accountants, right? And so when I got involved in the Chamber, I met so many people with different perspectives on everything, on business, on the world. And, I feel like I've made a lot of close friends and just really learned from everybody that I've learned more, I say, through my involvement with the Chamber than I have at work in a lot of years, because I'm learning all the time from people who have completely different careers, completely different lives, all really intelligent people. So that has been a big gift in terms of my professional career. But I think that personal success and professional success, I can't differentiate them, right? Because, well, maybe it's because I'm older and this is just my life, right? I'm like sending emails at 8 o'clock at night while I'm helping one of my daughters figure out why her child has a fever. I'm doing all of it at the same time. I don't feel like there's any hard boundaries anymore, right? Which is because I'm older. If I were younger, that might be a different situation, but I can do it all now,
Yeah.
So
outside of like buying lipstick for yourself, like specifically just for you, how do you show up for you, and then how do you make sure you find that time? I think I'm still trying. That's the piece I'm still trying to figure out, to be honest. Okay, right? We're just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had times where I can say, like, I've gotten up every day at 5 o'clock and gone to the gym for like 2 years, and then something happens, and then 3 years later, I'm like, I've been to the gym in 3 years. You know what I mean? So that is a piece that I am still trying to figure out. Bigger kids, bigger problems, right? So now that my daughters are adults and they own their own homes and they're having children, I'm still the mother, right? I am still the person that they come to when they need somebody or they need something, and I never say no. And I need to carve out more time for myself, and for my husband's the same way too. So we don't, if I say no, then they go to him and he says yes. So,
Lucky kid.
In the car you go.
Right. Yeah, so I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out like how to carve out that time for myself. I'm a big reader, so I do that. I read a lot in my downtime, but in terms of other hobbies, I've been talking about this a lot at home with my family. Like, I need some hobbies, right? I'm not artistic at all. I look at all of these, things that you see online, those people painting and people flipping furniture, and I would love to do all of that, but I can't color between the lines. So I need to find a hobby. If any of you have any suggestions on hobbies that I can develop in the next few years, that would be great.
You'd be good at golf.
You think so?
Yes, you're very technical-minded.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of technique.
Yeah. I don't know, my hand-eye coordination.
But the ball's not moving. One point of that, I'm like, I'm terrible at ball games. They're like, but the ball's not moving. I'm like, good point.
I used to be able to at least go out and do a scramble. I don't even try anymore,
Yeah.
It's so time-consuming.
It is.
Very time-consuming.
Yeah, but if you do it with your girlfriends, then it's like an
Well, so that's the other thing, Jennifer, is I need to invest more time in my friendships as well.
Yeah.
That is absolutely something that through the years has been very, very difficult for me between family and career, is being able to invest time in friendships.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What would you say in your career has been like your biggest lesson learned that you could share?
My biggest lesson learned.
I'm sorry, I've gone completely off script.
That's okay. You know what?
Should I revisit anything?
No.
Okay.
My biggest lesson learned. I think one of the things that I have to do is not take things personally if something, as we become a bigger firm and clients' needs become bigger, right? And sometimes you have to delegate things that you'd like to do yourself, and sometimes they're not done exactly the way you'd like them done, and sometimes you got to do damage control with a client. And I have to try and not think of myself as a failure when things don't go the way I want them to go. And that is, I take it so seriously when a client is upset.
But so if someone else fails, you take it as a failure?
No, it's always my responsibility.
Yeah,
it's my client. It is always my responsibility. And so if things don't go well, then that's my failure.
It's on you. You're accountable.
That's how I feel. I feel like it is my failure that either I should have done something differently, I should have supervised something differently, maybe I didn't put the right people on, or you know, whatever. But it literally takes me days to get over it, and I need to try and be better at letting those things go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that was a big transition too.
Yeah.
A big leap in size of the firm. So you had to let go of a lot of control. Absolutely. The size of the firm, we're still, like, when I show up every day, I feel like I'm showing up for our local office. Even though I do have responsibilities beyond the local office, I still, I care very much about our New England region and the way that we service clients, the way that we portray ourselves in the community. I feel very responsible for that. And even though there are so many other people responding, you know what I mean? It's not my burden, but I do take it very seriously. So. Yeah, that is a big transition.
Yeah.
Would you say that's been the biggest challenge in your career of the last 10 years?
It definitely is. I think that the big challenge, too, is just I want to make sure we're giving the right impression to people out in the community, to potential clients, referral sources. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, right? And so, you know, if we at Citrin Cooperman have some kind of a transaction or something, our competitors are out there you know, oh, you don't want to stay with them because, you know, this is what's happening over there, and you know what I mean? It's you have to really be proactive at, you know, communicating what's going on with your clients, potential clients, the community, because if you don't get that message out, somebody else will, and it won't be favorable. You know what I mean? And that's really been the biggest challenge, because our industry has become so competitive, not just for client service, but also just to get people to come and work for you and get them to stay with you. I mean, our accountants are getting calls at their desks all the time from headhunters, from human resources, from other firms. It's you have to be on top of your game all the time. And that has really been the biggest challenge.
What advice would you give, in terms of a leadership role, showing up as a leader?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I have 3 people that in our firm that I mentor to try and get them to the next level. I mean, obviously everybody wants to get to partner, right? That's the goal. And I think that the biggest challenge is when somebody does not have that personality that wants to promote themselves, that wants to be heard, that wants to participate in things. They just want to be a real good technician. And those people are important, don't get me wrong, but it gets in the way of them being the best leaders that they can be. And so that is the biggest challenge. So I try and find out, okay, what do you like to do? What are you good at? You may not be good at going to events and striking up conversations with referral sources or potential clients, but is there a subject that you can teach? Is there something that, you know, can I bring you to a bank and have you do a presentation? Or, you know, you try and find the different strengths that people have and try and get them to where they want to go based on what their particular strengths are. You know?
And do they have a mentorship program?
They do. Yes, they do.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. Does anyone have any questions for Bonnie?
What do you think was or who do you think was your biggest influence? Like in regards to, like, I hear a lot about like values and work ethic, and where do you think that stemmed from, or your observations?
Yeah, so I think that as a professional, there's one gentleman, some of you may know him, he's a retired partner, his name's Mark Robinson. So when I was at the firm where I spent 23 years was Kennedy and Lehan, and it turned into RSM. And I stayed for a long time after that. But Mark was one of the partners at Kennedy and Lehan, and he left with Ken Kirkland, Peg Fredrickson, and Mark Albrecht to form KAF. And that's where I wound up, you know, when I left in 2010, I went over there. Mark was different than the other three when he left there. Mark had 4 daughters, and Mark was such a smart guy in terms of, you know, both his work ethic and his technical skills. He was a great client server, but he would not go out at night and do all of the rubbing elbows and all of the stuff that he had to do because he's like, I have 4 daughters, I want to be there for my daughters. So just watching him professionally, like especially, I mean, he's a man and he did it so well, but there were times that he thought that he was going to get fired because he wasn't out bringing in new business at night. But he, like myself, he rested on his technical skills to become more compliance-oriented, and he had, you know, that outgoing personality, but he always took care of his family. He has 4 married daughters now. He's retired. He's very active in their lives, has always been very active in their lives. And he was chair of the board of the Massachusetts Board of Public Accountancy. Just a great mentor for me, showing me that you can take a non-traditional view on success and still get there. And one thing I didn't mention, my path to partner was slower. It was a sacrifice that I made. I stayed a director for many years, despite pressure to go into a partner development program, because I didn't think that I could be a partner and meet the objectives of being a partner and raise my family. Yeah. So I made a conscious decision. I remember my employer saying to me, you know, you're going to see people that work for you, that you've trained, come up ahead of you. And how does that make you feel? And I remember saying, like, I did a good job. You know what I mean? It was just something in my mind that I accepted. And he was a significant influence on that. Just seeing somebody else be able to have everything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, he chose to, right?
Right. It was a decision when it was, not only was it an unpopular decision professionally, but it was an significantly unpopular for a man, right, to make those decisions. But honestly, he was the person that I looked up to the most in my profession. So,
would you recommend someone seek out a mentor? Like, how do you think about today, your growth? We were just talking about, like, even at our age, kind of being moments of transition, right? Like, what's next for you?
I don't know the answer. I gotta find a hobby.
Yes. Not lipstick.
I gotta find a hobby. I gotta make friends. Applications being accepted.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I'm not. Retirement isn't in my. Yeah. I'm not at that point. That's good. I mean, there are days. Don't get me wrong. We all have those days, right, where we're doing the math in our heads. But I don't know the answer to that. I haven't figured that out yet.
And you're not worried about it?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm just worried. The only worry that I ever have is, like, what if our time here isn't as long as we think it's going to be? Right. I don't want to die at my desk. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to
Yeah.
cash in the chips.
Good.
So,
Don't you love Disney?
I do. I'm not a Disney adult. My daughter told me not to tell people I'm a Disney adult because Disney adults walk around with like ears and lollipops, and I'm not that person. I'm not that person at all.
But you know the wait times right now at...
I do know the wait times, yes. We do go a lot.
Yes, great.
Andrea?
I have a question. Jill, I think that you described Bonnie perfectly at the start.
Yeah.
That was great.
Because she's my friend. She does. She's my friend group now.
I think we're all friends. Bonnie, I've always admired you.
Oh, thank you, Andrea.
I think today has added a different dimension hearing you. I've loved the description about the coping skills, right? Even though it sounded silly to everyone, right? And we all chuckled a little bit about every time that boss pissed you off, you bought lipstick. I think we all probably have to figure out like those particular small coping skills when things come up. So my first question is just how many lipsticks did you acquire?
Quite a bit. I even, like today, they don't stay on the way you want them to, but I have so many lipsticks. And when I was down in Disney World recently, I went and I got an engraved lipstick case, tortoise engraved lipstick case.
So Bonnie, I have an idea for you for that hobby. You are very technical. You could probably go into lipstick making and sewing and whatnot.
Yeah, where am I going to sell them though?
Your girlfriend.
Maybe it's engraving. That's very technical.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to be technical though. Maybe you do have a creative side. You just don't know it yet.
Maybe I don't know it. Yeah.
I have a question. Did you have another question?
That's okay. I can ask more about lipstick later.
So with all this being said, you said a lot of just amazing insight, and looking into, the evolution, what's next potentially. What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is, I feel like my superpower is more professional, maybe than, I don't know. My superpower, I think, is connecting people. And so I feel like I always know, like, who should meet who, like, who is going to, who good mentors would be for people. Like, I feel like connecting people is probably my superpower.
But you are, can I answer that?
Yes.
You are also very, very good at making connections, not connecting other people.
That's true.
You're very good at making connections.
Like reading people. It's almost like you read, you make a perception, and then you're able to connect, right?
Yeah.
Which is a superpower.
Yes.
I mean, some people could care less.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
to make that true connection.
Something I don't say a lot is I was wrong about that person.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen to me a lot. Yeah.
There's a question back here.
You were talking about community and the chamber and the mentorship and all of that, and I'm wondering, what got you involved in the chamber?
So, because I have a social anxiety problem, I did not come voluntarily. So, Ken Kirkland, I don't know how many of you know him, right, who used to be managing partner of our office. He said, we need a partner in the firm to be more active in the chamber. I choose you. And I did whatever he asked me. I mean, there were years, I remember one year he said to me, I need someone to lead our nonprofit practice. We need to grow this practice. Will you do that for me? And I remember I said, I'm not excited about that, but I'll do it, and I'll do it well, and I did it and became so excited about it. Love nonprofit. So when he said, I choose you, I was like, okay, where do I go? When do I, that's just how I would do things. And then, of course, regret the commitment and follow through and love the commitment. You know what I mean? So that is really how I got involved in the chamber. But, you know, my message, and this is a message I have in the firm, and now we have people involved in various chambers, is that, you know, you don't know what you're missing in terms of a sense of community. And it's not, I mean, the gift of knowing what's going on in your community is great, but just hearing from so many different people in so many different industries with so many different issues, yet all the, you know, some are really the same. It's just been a tremendous gift. I've met the most amazing people that I never would have met if I didn't step outside my office.
And I also have a little note. I was in a situation with mostly men too. I was in engineering for 34 years.
Yeah.
I get that, and I can relate to that. But on the lipstick note, try Pause, Call Us Dave by Revlon.
Go ahead.
So everything you said resonates completely with me. I think a lot of people here have probably gone through similar situations so my question is, you got pushback at work, but on the personal side, did you get pushback as well? Like personally, I felt like I was half in at home too, with like the community around me kind of said, why aren't you here more full time with your children?
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that at all?
I absolutely did feel that. The PTO was not nice to me. They were not nice to me, and I gave up. I was treasurer of PTO at one point, and then decided.
Anyway?
What?
That's what I mean. Like, you do things anyway.
Well, I did stop. I finished my term, but I did stop and decided that I was going to go in on Friday mornings and make popcorn and deliver it to the second grade classrooms. And because I did want to be involved, but
they're not welcoming.
They absolutely weren't welcoming to me at the time. So I was not. It wasn't unusual. I had a close group of friends, but I wasn't one of those people that in town that like, oh, isn't she great? Let's be her friend, you know? I'm not. I was never like part of a clique or anything like that. So, I mean, that was tricky, right? I couldn't do all it. There was some judgment involved. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
But I didn't really let that.
You can't, but it's like I think the bigger issue is whatever works for you works for you, and everyone should be accepting of it.
Everyone's
but I don't
versions
think
of their
that,
families are different in their lives.
So my kids went to private high school. They went to Fonbonne Academy. I don't know if we have any Fonbonne grads in the room. And it felt different there, you know what I mean, in terms of being accepted by the other parents. Like we were all leaving work to get to the soccer field by 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just felt different. I don't know why. It was more.
Another question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, were you done?
Yeah.
So with somebody with obviously such high standards with your work product and caring about your also very high level of accountability when things don't go well, what advice would you have for somebody delegating tasks? How to bring, the levels down up with your work?
Yeah, so it's difficult. I think that you have to set people up for success the best that you can. And sometimes I have to explain to people, like, it's going to feel like I'm hovering at first, and it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me. And so if it gets to be too much, come talk to me about it. And we kind of set tasks up differently that way. Just to give an example, we have some standards that we have to abide by with independence on clients. So if I'm doing an audit or a review or some kind of a test service to a client, I can't go in and do their books and records because I can't audit my own work, right? So that's an independence issue. But sometimes clients need those types of services, and we have a BPO group. And so I'm very involved in the planning of their engagements with my clients to make sure that we're not stepping over, the boundaries. And I think it's a little bit of a pain for them that I'm so involved in the beginning. But they've also learned that once we get it straightened away, you're good to go. And they've proven that they can, you know, I have full confidence in that group, right? But I've also, I mean, not everything's all success. I lost a client recently because they were going through a transaction where they were buying another company, and I had someone from our transaction advisory services group who was new because they needed somebody right away. They could not wait. And this guy, really smart, but didn't have the client skills that, you know, my clients are used to. And that went south, and we lost that engagement. And I beat myself up over that for weeks, you know, and then I stopped and thought to myself, I've been providing excellent service to this client, and they couldn't, like, take the apology and just move on, and so maybe there was something else there.
Mm-hmm.
I finally, like, sometimes I have to say to myself, all right, pity party's over Friday at 3, you know, and just listen to myself on that, you know?
Yeah.
But I think people know that I tend to, like, get over-involved in the planning stages of things with hopes that we can set everything off right. I also have one of my personal things that I ask people who work with me to do is to load up my calendar. So if you are going to be out at a client and things need to be reviewed by the end of the week, throw something in my calendar for Wednesday, throw something in my calendar for Monday, and when I do that, people stay accountable to those dates that are in your calendar. So they might call and say, you know what, I'm running a day behind, that's fine. But if it's not in my calendar, that's when things start to go astray. So it's just one of the tools that I use to stay on track with people.
Great.
Did I answer that question right? I mean, okay, that was the question. Okay.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
I don't have any lipstick tips for you. I apologize. I actually emailed Heather and said I've registered for this thing. Is it okay if I actually go? So I just wanted to say, first of all, your story was amazing. Secondly, what kind of resonates with me about you is you are extraordinarily authentic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that, like, it's really interesting because, you know, women deal with challenges that I've never had, you know, personally. And so it's really interesting to hear perspectives. The fact that I know you're in the HR business, I'm in the HR business as well. It's really, like, interesting how you talked about that story around HR that you went down and that's what they said to you. I just almost fell off my chair and I'm like, I cannot believe that they would say something like that.
It was also like the year 2000.
No, 100%. 2000 is like really not even that. If you said it was 1960, maybe I would have bought it. But like 2000 seems insane to me that they would say that to you. But like just the way you described her as she spoke, and it's really clear that you described her perfectly, right? But it's just, I've always wanted to get into these women-only groups. They don't generally let me in. Maybe it's a little selfish on my part, I'm not sure.
Do you need friends?
I'm accepting applications as well. So, but it's just really been interesting to sit here and to listen to this and see other perspectives that I don't always get to see.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is I think we're all pretty kind of the same, right? We all have those anxieties. I don't go out and buy lipsticks when that stuff happens, but I do other things, right, that I need to do for me. And that's sort of the interesting part of this conversation. And I would love to be, not specifically with this group or women groups in general, but these types of conversations I think are just really critical to have, you know, because it just makes you understand you're not all by yourself.
Right.
You're not the only one going through these things. And I think these types of conversations are really important. So I thought.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
We don't discriminate.
But it is such great perspective. Again, I think it's easy to say, I'm in trucking, so like just all the time, like, oh my gosh, you're a woman in trucking. Like, yep, and you're a man.
Just in trucking.
And how did you combat these things? And, you know, I got in a little bit of trouble, and I didn't know I did. I'm genuinely pretty kind. But I was asked to be highlighted as a woman in trucking. And so instead of doing this or interviewing, they gave you a series of questions, and they asked you to write your answers. And one of the questions, it's always the question, like, how did you survive as a woman with trucking with all these men? And I've, you know, had some horror stories, but that my 23-year-old self and my 55-year-old self feels the same way. If we're at a table and we're doing business together and you're not okay with it because you're a man and I'm a woman, I don't care.
That's a you problem. Exactly.
I absolutely love what I do, and I'm not going to let the way you behave impact that. And so that's what I wrote, which I guess doesn't sound as kind. And she called me back and she's like, hey, do you think you could change that? I'm like, no, I actually think more people should feel that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't being rude to the man. Most of my friends, my mentor's a man, my best friend's a man, my doctor's a man. I actually have had trouble connecting with women, to be honest. Yeah, and so I think you're right. These conversations need to happen a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, I don't see it a lot anymore because I don't know that we're female-dominated. We're not at the partner level. I mean, we do have a lot of female partners, but I don't think that, most of the accounting graduates these days are women, right? It's just getting them to stay in the profession is a challenge sometimes.
It's such a grind.
Because, it's a difficult profession early on, but ultimately it provides a great deal of flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, I never missed a school play or a soccer game or a basketball game.
It's amazing.
There's a great deal of flexibility in our profession. And so it's just, mentoring young women to see that when they may not see it early in their careers. You know, when they come in out of school and they've worked for a couple of years, they may not be in that spot where they're thinking about family and how am I going to raise my family and work in my profession. And, they're not at that point. So if somebody calls them at their desk and promises them an easier life, sometimes it's difficult to counteract that. But it is a really good profession, I think, for parents because, you take your client commitments really seriously but you can create some flexibility for yourself to be there for your family.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Just
true.
a real quick question. So we kind of all touched on the male, female, but in all reality, even there's a female-female camaraderie, and then there's a female-female competitiveness that's very challenging to navigate at times too. Did you come across that? What was that?
No.
No. Okay.
I know that sounds weird. It may not be the correct answer for this audience, but honestly, no. I kind of feel like the women that I would consider to be my peers have been my strongest allies. We've really built each other up through the years, and maybe I've just been lucky with the people that I've been around. I haven't had that experience at all. And maybe it's because, as partners, we were all coming up the ranks when maybe it wasn't popular for, women to stay long enough to make it to partner. I'm not sure. But I think that we are exceptionally considerate of each other so that when somebody's going through something, we're like a sisterhood there. You know what I mean? We really all chip in and help out, even if it's just to lend an ear. If I'm having a meltdown about something, it doesn't happen much anymore, but it has through the years, right? I know, there are 4 different women in my office that I can go to that are going to make me feel better. And we're just really strong advocates for each other. So, and even in my last firm, at the height of my anxiety disorder, when I was having panic attacks and whatnot, there was a woman there that I'd go into her office and I'd say, Joan, I'm not feeling good. And she'd say, let's go get a cup of coffee. And we would just go get a cup of coffee and, half hour later I'd feel better, I'd go back to work or whatever. It's just an understanding that we had, right? So I just haven't run into it really. I don't know, maybe I'm just lucky that way. I don't know.
Or you're genuine, and people stay away from you that are crappy.
Yeah.
Because they're not crappy.
Betsy, you have a question?
Well, no, it's not really a question, but as I look around the room, and a couple times I heard you say work ethic. And I think in this group, that's one thing that's certainly a common denominator, is a very strong work ethic. And that is always something in my career that nobody was going to compromise.
Yeah.
But I think it's innate, and when I look around, I think when you have that strong work ethic, it shows in respect for each other.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and you do have that here.
Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming.
Just to be clear, we are open to everyone. It is, I love, I really think it's as important as it is to like relate to the women we feature, which this next year will be our 7th year. We've had over 40 speakers. I think we love to hear and relate and be able to understand where we're all coming from, but I think it's even better when men are in the room and they get to hear those perspectives as well. Just a reminder, our sponsors are Mountain One Bank, Cardinal Cushing, Crystal Moon Holistic Healing, Friendship Home, George Washington Toma, Phifer Pinkham, South Shore YMCA, Steinberg, Tiny and Sons Auto Glass, and Unique Stairways. If you want to continue to celebrate Bonnie, you can come to the annual meeting on Thursday at Leo's. It's November 6th at 5 o'clock. Tickets are still available. And next year, I can tell you just a little bit, they will be the first Wednesday of each month. So keep that in mind. The first one will be January 7th. Our speaker is really dynamic and amazing, so I'm excited for next year.
Good.
So thank you very much, Bonnie. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Bonnie. Let's take a picture before everybody comes back up.
For everyone.
We're going to go here to the sponsor, to the board. I just wanted to introduce Heather. I work at Friendship Home. Oh, hi, Heather. Oh, yes.
It's been fantastic on our golf committee. So the culture there is definitely making that whole nonprofit thing. So thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is great. Really.
Nice to meet you. Let's have a picture with Heather and you. Okay. I never get invited there. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you. How are you? Good.